I had been planning this night for over a year. Every late night, every exhausted weekend, every moment of doubt had gone into making my dream a reality. The grand opening of my café, the Ember Room, wasn't just a business, it was my life's work. Tables polished to a reflective shine, menus printed on thick, textured paper, freshly baked pastries lined up in perfect symmetry. The soft amber glow of hanging Edison bulbs gave the space warmth I had hoped would make it feel like home. And tonight, I wanted my family to be there, to see me succeed. I reserved every table for them. My parents, my sister, even my brother. It was my way of saying, look, I did this. After years of living in the shadow of everyone else's achievements, this night was mine. The first guests arrived around 6, but there was one glaring absence, my family. I checked my phone. No texts. No calls. I shrugged, trying to tell myself maybe they were running late. By 7, the cafe was buzzing. Friends, co-workers, local community members, all buzzing around, taking pictures, laughing. And still no family. I tried calling them, but straight to voicemail. Then, as I was setting out a tray of espresso for a new customer, my sister's face flashed across my mind. I remembered the times she had rolled her eyes at my ambitions, muttering, "You'll never make it." I felt my chest tighten. And then the truth hit me like a punch, they weren't coming. Not because of traffic. Not because of work. My entire family had chosen, without even telling me, to be at my brother's karaoke night. I froze. Every table reserved for them sat empty, mocking me in its silence. I could feel my throat tightening, a heat rising in my chest. Anger, humiliation, disbelief, all at once. I moved mechanically, serving guests with a smile I didn't feel, listening to compliments about how beautiful the space was, how perfect the pastries looked. No one knew. No one could know what it felt like to dedicate yourself to a dream and be completely invisible to the people who were supposed to matter most. By the time the last toast was made and the final applause died down, I felt hollow. Guests left with congratulations and smiles, but in my chest, there was only a quiet ache. I locked the cafe door behind me, shoulders slumped, thinking maybe I should have just stayed home. And then he appeared. A man I had never seen before, tall, confident, dressed in an expensive suit, stepped up to the counter. He extended a hand. "Congratulations," he said. His smile was genuine, not condescending. "I love what you've done with this place. We want to invest 6 figures in your business." For a moment, the anger and hurt evaporated. I stared at him, unable to speak, the words stuck in my throat. This is serious," he said. "We've been looking for a business like yours for a long time. With the right investment, you could expand quickly. Locations, staff, marketing. We see potential." My mind was spinning. I had just been humiliated by my own family, but here was someone, a stranger, offering validation in a way my parents never had. I shook his hand, barely able to comprehend the reality of what was happening. My heart raced, not from excitement alone, but from the contrast, the sting of betrayal versus the spark of opportunity. The next morning, reality returned like a punch in the gut. My phone lit up endlessly. 128 missed calls. My mother. My father. My sister. Each call a reminder that they had discovered the investment. But before I even considered answering, I made a choice. I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to defend myself. I didn't want to beg for their attention or approval. Not anymore. I would call them later, if I felt like it. But first, I needed to focus on me, on my dream, on the people who actually saw my value. Because for the first time in my life, I realized something. Validation from strangers who believe in you is worth infinitely more than approval from people who don't. And that realization, that feeling of empowerment, was just the beginning. The next morning, I barely slept. My dreams were filled with the empty tables, the silent rejection of my family, and the firm handshake of the stranger who had offered 6 figures. It was surreal. On one hand, I felt anger boiling at my parents and my brother. On the other, I felt the tiniest spark of hope. Someone believed in me. Someone who wasn't bound by blood and expectation. By mid-morning, my phone erupted with notifications. Missed calls, messages, texts. 128 in total, all from my mother. Call us immediately. We need to discuss this. What is happening? How dare you exclude us from your life? I stared at the screen. For a split second, I felt guilt. Then clarity washed over me. I had spent years seeking approval from people who would never value my effort. This was my life. My business. My choices. Before calling back, I made coffee, brewed it strong, and sat down to plan. I needed to focus. If I reacted to my family's panic now, I would give them control again. And I wasn't letting that happen. The stranger, who introduced himself the night before as Mr. Fletcher, called me by 10 a.m. sharp. Calm, authoritative, and precise, he laid out the terms of the investment. He wasn't just giving money, he wanted a partnership, mentorship, and a plan. I could feel the seriousness behind every word, the potential for growth he saw in me. This is rare, he said, voice steady. Most people your age don't take this seriously. You're ready for this opportunity. Don't waste it. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. For the first time in a long time, I felt the power of my own decisions. We scheduled a meeting for later that afternoon. I spent the morning reviewing finances, drafting expansion ideas, and imagining a café chain that could rival the city's top spots. Every thought, every plan, was mine, untainted by my family's opinions or jealousy. By the time the meeting came, I was exhausted but determined. Fletcher arrived, impeccably dressed, and scanned the café like an expert. He asked questions about supplier contracts, staffing, and revenue projections. I answered honestly, confidently, and deliberately. I realized I knew more than I'd ever imagined. All the hours I had spent perfecting my space, training staff, balancing budgets, it had all been preparation for this. He smiled after a long pause. I like your focus, he said. I've seen potential, but I've never seen commitment like this at your age. If you execute properly, we'll double your investment in less than 2 years. I felt a thrill I hadn't experienced in years. Validation. Not from my parents, not from my brother, not from anyone who expected me to fail. Real, tangible belief in me and my work. Meanwhile, my phone continued buzzing. Missed calls stacked into the hundreds, voicemails piling up. I let them go. One by one, I ignored them, sipping my coffee and listening to Fletcher outline the strategy. It wasn't easy. Part of me wanted to pick up, to hear my mother's voice, her panic, the veiled guilt and criticism. But I reminded myself, I couldn't let them derail me. Not now. Not ever again. By evening, the café had cleared. Staff cleaned up while I stayed behind, finalizing numbers for Fletcher. It was then that I noticed a group of people peering through the front window. My family. My mother, father, sister, and even my brother, all standing there, faces pressed against the glass. I felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. They had finally realized the power of absence, the silent statement I had made by letting them choose karaoke over my grand opening. But it was too late for pity. I locked the doors behind me, walking to the back office to meet Fletcher. He shook his head when he saw my expression. "They're here," I said quietly. "And?" he asked. "And, it doesn't matter," I replied. "Not anymore. I'm done seeking approval. I have what I need to grow, and I won't let anyone take that from me again." Fletcher nodded. "Good. That's the mindset that leads to success. Keep your focus, your vision, and your boundaries. That night, I sat alone in the café, the hum of the city outside the window, the smell of coffee and baked bread still lingering. My family didn't call again that day. Maybe they were afraid, maybe embarrassed, maybe plotting how to guilt me back into submission. I didn't care. For the first time, I realized something powerful: independence doesn't come from money or opportunity alone. It comes from making a choice, taking control, and refusing to let anyone diminish your worth. And for the first time, I felt in control of my own life. The following week, life became a strange balancing act. On one side, Fletcher's investment opened doors I had only dreamed about. New suppliers, better equipment, social media campaigns that actually worked. The cafe started attracting attention from food bloggers, local magazines, and curious customers. For the first time, my hard work wasn't invisible, it was being noticed, respected, and rewarded. On the other side, my family. They were relentless. My mother called incessantly, alternating between fake concern and thinly veiled criticism. My father sent long, guilt-laden emails, trying to convince me that I owed them something. My sister posted subtweet-level comments on social media, subtly mocking my cafe's hipster vibe and implying I couldn't manage real success. And my brother, Ryan. He walked through my cafe once, smiled at me with that smug, knowing expression, and said, "Enjoy it while it lasts. Things change fast." It was clear, they weren't going to give up. They expected me to crumble under pressure, to beg for their attention, or worse, to let their drama derail my focus. But I refused. I realized something vital: success isn't just about talent or hard work. It's about boundaries, about protecting what's yours from those who want to diminish it. And for the first time, I wasn't just learning this lesson, I was living it. Fletcher became my anchor in all of this. Not just as an investor, but as a mentor and strategist. He encouraged me to see things in terms of long-term growth, not short-term validation. "Your family's opinions don't define your potential," he told me one evening, as we reviewed expansion plans. "You can't control them, but you can control your response. And right now, your response is brilliant." His words sank in. For years, I had chased approval, seeking validation from people who would never give it willingly. And now I had someone who not only saw my potential but actively nurtured it. With Fletcher's guidance, we started planning a second location. A small team of passionate staff, already loyal to me and the vision of the cafe, was eager to expand. Every decision, from decor to menu design, was mine. No one told me to change, no one judged my choices. It was liberating, and addictive. But freedom comes with challenges. One evening, I arrived at the cafe to find the front window smashed. Graffiti covered the brick walls, "You'll never escape us." My heart sank. It was my family. I didn't even need to ask. Fletcher and I inspected the damage. "It's intimidation," he said calmly, not angry, not alarmed. "They're trying to manipulate you through fear. It won't work if you stay focused." I nodded. I wouldn't let them win. Not with threats. Not with guilt. Not with emotional manipulation. I had a vision, a business, and a team who believed in me. That was stronger than anything my family could throw at me. The next day, I posted an announcement: the cafe was expanding, and we were looking for new locations. Social media exploded with support. Customers offered encouragement, strangers shared their excitement, and for the first time, I felt the full weight of public recognition. My phone buzzed again, missed calls, texts from my mother. I stared at them, then deleted them all. For the first time, I didn't care. My validation wasn't coming from them anymore. That night, Ryan showed up, finally alone. "You're serious," he said quietly. "You've really grown. This, independence, it suits you." "I'm done waiting for you to show up at my life," I replied. "I'm done needing your approval." He studied me for a moment. "Good," he said finally. "Maybe this is the start of something better. Maybe you're ready for it." I didn't answer. I just smiled. Not smugly. Not angrily. Just genuinely. Free for the first time. Weeks passed. The second cafe opened, and then a third. Fletcher's investment multiplied, and my business became more than a passion, it became a tangible success story. And through it all, I didn't pick up a single call from my family. The day came when I realized, I had achieved what I set out for. I had created something lasting, something mine. The approval I had longed for from them? Irrelevant. The only validation that mattered was my own, and the support of people who truly believed in me. I sat in the cafe one evening, watching customers laugh, work, and enjoy themselves. I had fought through disappointment, neglect, and manipulation. I had chosen myself. And for the first time, I truly felt unstoppable. It had been months since the grand opening disaster. The cafe now thrived. Locations multiplied. Social media buzzed constantly about the Ember Room. Fletcher's investment had turned into a powerful springboard, and I was no longer just a dreamer, I was a business owner with a growing empire. And yet, my family still lingered in the background. One evening, as I locked up the original cafe, I noticed a familiar car parked across the street. My mother, father, and sister all stepped out. My brother stayed in the car, arms crossed, watching. "Can we talk?" my mother called as I approached. Her voice wavered, half plea, half accusation. I paused. I wanted to tell her everything I had felt for the past year. The humiliation, the disappointment, the emptiness when they chose karaoke over me. I wanted to see if they even understood how deeply they had hurt me. Instead, I smiled calmly. "We can talk," I said, "but there's nothing you can say that will change what I've done, or who I've become." They exchanged glances, awkward and guilty. My father opened his mouth, but no words came. My sister, usually quick to mock, looked small and hesitant. We didn't understand," my mother said finally. "We were wrong. We didn't realize." I held up a hand. "I know you didn't. And maybe that's your problem. You never tried to see me for myself. But it doesn't matter now. I've already moved forward. I've built my life." Ryan stepped out of the car, surprising me. For once, he looked different, not the smug, manipulative brother, but something like respect. "You've done well," he said quietly. "I didn't think you'd get this far. Not without falling apart." I nodded, not smugly, not triumphantly, just honestly. I didn't need anyone's approval. Not yours, not theirs. I needed my own drive, and I followed it. For a long moment, there was silence. Then my parents and sister turned and walked away, leaving Ryan and me alone. "You're really different now," he said. "Stronger. More focused." "I had to be," I replied. "For me. For the life I wanted." He nodded, then walked back to the car. The tension that had always existed between us seemed to evaporate. I realized that closure didn't always come with apologies or understanding. Sometimes, it came simply from knowing you had chosen yourself. Weeks later, I sat at one of the new cafe locations, Fletcher reviewing expansion plans beside me. The city skyline glimmered through the large windows. The hum of conversation, the smell of coffee and pastries, and the quiet satisfaction of success filled the space. "Look at you," Fletcher said. "From an empty cafe to this empire. I knew you had it in you." I smiled, leaning back in my chair. I just needed to stop looking for approval in the wrong places. He chuckled. "That's the hardest lesson. Most people never learn it." I took a deep breath, letting it fill me with quiet triumph. The tables were full, the staff happy, and my vision alive. The echoes of neglect, betrayal, and humiliation from my family had faded into the past. And for the first time in my life, I realized something crucial: success wasn't just building a business. Success was building yourself, your independence, your confidence, your life, without waiting for anyone else to validate it. I glanced around the bustling café. Customers laughing. Friends chatting. Strangers enjoying a moment of comfort. My café wasn't just a business, it was my proof that I could create something lasting, something mine, something no one could take away. And for the first time in my life, I knew that I didn't just survive. I thrived. I didn't need calls from my parents, apologies from my sister, or even words from Ryan. I had me. And that was enough. The Ember Room wasn't just a café. It was my life. My choice. My victory. And it was only the beginning. The café was alive with laughter and the rich aroma of coffee. Tables once empty were now full of people who valued my work and my vision. I glanced at my phone, missed calls from my family, but didn't answer. I realized I didn't need their approval anymore. My success, my independence, my choices were mine alone. For the first time, I felt truly free. The Ember Room wasn't just a business, it was proof that I could create my own life, on my own terms. And that was enough.